Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the National Center for Padre Pio, home of Padre Pio in the USA. Once again, we find ourselves in the St. Pio Museum and Cultural Center enjoying the exhibit of the Sacred Heart of Jesus in the area of Pietrelcina, Padre Pio's birthplace. This is June, as you know, the month of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. The Sacred Heart of Jesus figures prominently in the lives of many, many saints, including our beloved Saint Pio. The devotion to the Sacred Heart actually started in the early days of the Church, when many saints were focusing on the passion and death of our Lord, what he had gone through for mankind's redemption. Back in the 13th century, the Franciscans began devotion to the 5 wounds of our Lord crucified, and many saints, including Saint Lutgard, Saint Mechtild, Saint Gertrude the Great, as well as Saint Francis de Sales, Saint Bernardine, Saint Bonaventure, all of them had experiences with this heart of Jesus that so loved mankind, and many writings were done about this heart of Jesus. But it wasn't until the late 17th century in a little village in France called Paray-le-Monial, where a visitation nun, Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, was praying in their chapel, and our Lord appeared to her as the Sacred Heart of Jesus and instructed that she would have an image made of exactly what it was that she saw. Well, St. Margaret Mary did have the image made, and our Lord would come to her, revealing again what great love he had for all of creation through his most sacred heart. But it was in the last apparition, on the 16th of June, in 1675, when our Lord appeared to her and asked that an image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus be enthroned in all of the homes of Christian families, and that would that be done, many myriad graces would come into those homes, that of peace being the greatest promise. And I can tell you here at the Center for Padre Pio, many, many intentions come to us. People praying for peace in their families. And we instruct them, as Padre Pio instructed them, to turn to the Immaculate Heart of Mary and again to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. It was also in that apparition that he asked that the first Friday of each month be dedicated to him, and those who would receive worthily Holy Communion on the 9 first Fridays would be given myriad graces as well in their life. Fast forward to the 1890s in Pietrelcina, and a little Francesco Forgione, who, at the behest of his mother or his grandmother, was given times to run and do errands throughout the little village, and how many times little Francesco would include in his errands a stop at the church of St. Anne, the church of the village of Pietrelcina near his birthplace, where he was baptized. He would run into the church when he was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and he would go in, stop before the Blessed Sacrament, and exclaim to our Lord how much he loved him. Well, on one of these days, when Francesco passed by the church and he went to stop in, he had the church all to himself, as he did on many of those days. And lo and behold, there on the main altar was our Lord Jesus Christ as the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And little Francesco went to him as he beckoned. And he stood before the Sacred Heart of Jesus and he said, "My Lord, how much I love you. And I promise when I grow that I will tell all the world how much love you bear in your heart for all of your creatures, all of creation, all of humankind." And our Lord was so pleased with Francesco's promise that he reached forward and he touched him on his head. Little Francesco, as you knew, grew in holiness, grew in sanctity. The gifts that our beloved Lord bestowed upon him were myriad gifts, and this helped him greatly in his mission to save souls. We see here Padre Pio, as he passes an image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus in later years in the friary, looking seriously upon that Sacred Heart. Imagine what he must be thinking every time he passed. Was he indeed doing his very best to bring the love of God to all of those souls entrusted to him? Well, we can find and we would know that indeed, my dear friends, on the 16th of June in 2002, just last week, was the anniversary of Padre Pio's canonization. I don't think it's an accident that heaven chose that day for our beloved Padre Pio's canonization. After all, it is the anniversary when the Sacred Heart of Jesus appeared to Margaret Mary Alacoque, and that precious saint promulgated that beautiful devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Dear friends, heaven always has a treat in store for all of us, the spiritual children of Padre Pio. Thank you very much for allowing me to share this with you, just this little story from the life of our beloved Saint Pio. I say God bless you, and we look forward to your visit. Do stop. Come and visit the home of St. Pio in the USA. The home of Padre Pio is your home. Thank you, and God bless you. See you again.